Okay, now let's see, does it work? Is it working? It's the final check. Test. Okay, supposedly it works. Supposedly it works. Holy shit, the YouTube interface on the fucking phone is very ugly right now. Whatever the fuck happened. Yikes. Uh, well, for a change, I did link the stream to everybody involved before starting it. So that's a step up. Please excuse the sound of electricity bullshit in the background. It is what it is. In all of my wisdom, I managed to fuck up the date that I was supposed to stream. Yeah, oversleeping. Well, when you decide to take a nap before the stream and you end up oversleeping for 5 hours, that kind of fucks up all your plans. That being said, that being said, this is a very important stream. It's been in the making for a year, but before I start, I feel compelled to say um, that hello everyone. I feel the need to say that there's still an ongoing genocide of the Palestinian people in Gaza right now and in all of Palestine, as well as a genocide against the Lebanese people in the south of Lebanon. So, seeing as many of my viewers are from the Western countries, some from the UK, others from the USA, I urge you to do, the bare fucking minimum. And okay, no, that sounded mean. That sounded a lot meaner than I wanted it to sound. But I do urge you to contact your representatives, even though they don't really represent you, that represent corporate interests. But hey, contact them, put pressure on them, protest, donate if you can, whatever you can spare. I'm just simply saying there's an ongoing genocide, and it's good to know about it. It's good to try to help in whatever way possible. And so, if you can contact your representatives, protest, you know, do whatever you can do. Um, well, please do. And I also feel compelled to talk about the self-immolation that happened in Washington, D.C. And I'd like to say, as much as I oppose, you know, self-inflicted harm, self-immolation is a pretty legal way to protest, and it is one that has been used for ages. And I do believe it requires a lot of bravery for the people involved. And I think that act sorta managed to, in a way, shift the view of Westerners and American people in the eyes of the oppressed people of the world, to see them more as not their oppressors, but more or less also people oppressed by their governments. The American people largely do not have control over where their tax dollars go. So I'm hoping the more people are aware of what's going on, the more people oppose what's going on, the more worldwide solidarity we can form. And in a way, I was hoping that every stream I do is around, Palestine. I've already talked about the history of the conflict before, a couple months ago, 4 months ago. Oh shit, I haven't streamed in a while. But today is a very important stream. It's been in the making for almost a year now, actually. And I've been meaning to have this very early on. Um, Holy shit, Nestor! Yeah, your representative is Ron DeSantis. Holy shit, you really got the short end of the stick over there. Holy fucking shit! Yes, Ron DeSantis is basically the devil in my eyes. Holy shit! Thank you, Ahmad. Well, that being said, let us start. So, I've debated with myself on how can I start this stream. Something to catch people's attention. Something to inspire a conversation. And I've got the perfect little quote for you guys. How about this idea for a change? Men are walking abortions. You heard me. Men are walking abortions. This is a quote, basically the core theme of the Scum Manifesto, written by Valerie Solanas, a book that made me laugh. I hate read it. It's the first time I really hate read anything. You know, I usually avoid hate reading shit, hate watching shit, because I really care about my own blood pressure. I don't want to die young. You know, stress can really do a number on your hair too. And I don't want to go bald too soon. But men are walking abortion. It's crazy. It is crazy. The lady is painted as a militant feminist in the 1960s. The introduction to her little political manifesto kind of compares her to Malcolm X, which I believe is a total bullshit comparison. You cannot compare that bitch. Okay, excuse the word. That lady that is not very nice to Malcolm X. It cannot be compared. It simply cannot be compared. You've got on one hand a man that fought for liberation of African Americans by any means necessary, and then you have a woman that says the future is letting all men die, destroying society and rebuilding it in the feminine form. That all men are scum. That all men are imperfect women, and they seek, and because they can never become women, they oppress women in the process. um, and while Valerie Solanas could have very much been suffering from mental illnesses, um, yeah, as Nestor Makhno said, she shot a director because he didn't accept her art, and she didn't, go against people actually oppressing minorities and the likes. But her book is influential in some circles and in many more militant circles, more radical circles. And while it is, oh, thank God, the fucking water motor shut up. Holy shit, I can hear myself think. Thank God for the water reserves filling up. Anyway, back to the conversation. You know, her logic, as much unreasonable as it is, and trust me, I've read that book, I've discussed it with my classmates, we all had a laugh about it. It was fucking crazy. That book actually has some ideas that are propagated in today's society, sadly. And I think part of Scum was just making fun of Freud and other sexist pop psychology things, kind of like almost satanic rituals. They just do the opposite of what the Christians do. I mean, yeah, the Scum Manifesto could have been there to provoke, basically a response from the patriarchy, but the Scum Manifesto isn't really a basis for any, political conversation. And Scum in this book stands for the Society for Cutting Up Men. So you already know she's a big time misandrist. Now I don't want to spend this entire stream talking about the Scum Manifesto. If anything, it's just a footnote. It deserves to be in the fucking dustbin. I'm just gonna say it. It's not because it's written by a woman. It's because it's batshit fucking insane and harmful to society. But I'm using the Scum Manifesto here as a segue to talk about something very important in today's society. It is that relationship between men and women are in a bad position currently. As you can see in a lot of Western countries, I'd say mainly in Europe, in Canada, in the United States, in Japan as well, China to an extent, even though China is not Western, but you get the idea. Many of these really industrialized nations, they are having a population crisis. If, for example, in countries like Russia, last time I checked, the population growth is actually ticking in the negatives. So every year Russia is losing population, and that's even before the war. So I'm not going to talk about the Ukraine meat grinder. That shit is fucking insane. I'm not gonna touch it with a 10-foot pole. Nuh-uh. So why is that? Of course, A lot of it can be attributed to economic policies. When the economy is shit and workers barely get paid anything, they would be less likely to actually have families and have kids and raise children. It can be attributed to the raised in education. A more educated society would have less children, as more children is usually more seen in more agricultural based societies, where children are used as working hands on the fields and in farms. There's a lot to be talked about in here, but I think at the core of it, it's a societal problem. It's a social issue, and that governments can't really do anything about it. It's something social institutions should try to influence more. NGOs, governmental organizations that do social work rather than political work. Youth organizations, women organizations, unions as well. All of those should work on this topic. Because at the end of the day, the problem is a social one. And let's dive a little bit more into it. I believe many of us are familiar with the current status quo being very fucking shit in today's society, especially in the Western world. Now, this is another reason why I wanted to make this stream for the longest time, because most of my viewers, if not all of them, well, I'd say the crushing majority of them, are young men between the ages of 18 and 34, according to the analytics. And I think young men in today's society are really fucked over in so many fucking ways. Yes, as MK said, there are parents who have a lot of children and they can't give them their basics. It's a really big social issue, a big social issue, multifaceted. But I want to focus right now on the relationship aspect of things, because if we talk about everything, it takes a few days. It takes a few days, and I kind of want to wrap this up in like 4 hours approximately. So let's focus on the relationship side of things. I believe young men in today's society has been fucked over. The status quo is not working. Of course, we cannot return to the olden days, because the olden days were fucking shit. There's a lot of romanticization. I got the word right. Romanticization. Fuck English. There's a lot of romanticization of the olden days, of the old days, of the good old America, or the good old conservative era before women had the right to speak. And I do not think we need to go back. Actually, if you think about it, all the ideas that say we need to go back are bullshit, because history keeps on progressing. So even if we roll back, we're going to reach the same point eventually. So it's more of a question on how to mitigate the present and move on to the future instead of rolling back time, because the wheel of history just continues to go on and go on. But the status quo is fucking horrible. And it really goes down to power dynamics. So, before the status quo, before, women had more rights, the patriarchy was stronger. The patriarchy still exists in some capacity, or in a lot of capacity, but before it was very fucking strong. And women, relied a lot on men to survive, basically. And that's an undeniable fact. It's an undeniable social fact. Since men were given the role of provider and protector of the family unit, a woman's survival hinged on getting herself a man. So, back then, all men were an option. It didn't matter what kind of men they were. Now, after years of social progress and economic progress, we've reached a point where women have joined the workforce, where women can go into leading positions and where women can make their own living, which means they do not rely on men anymore to survive, largely speaking. There's different instances, case by case basis. But I'm going to here, I'm talking in the general, because this is the status quo. The status quo is the general, and I'm going to focus more on the Western world and the countries that westernize in some capacity. Um, of course, other countries do not have that same level. I mean, you can make the example of Afghanistan. I'm not going to tackle Afghanistan. It's not my the point of this stream to tackle Afghanistan. You guys can make your own opinions about what's going on over there. But I'm talking right now about largely in the West and in the more westernized nations to some capacity, like some Arab countries, you know, because honestly, a lot of the bullshit that goes on in the American politics kind of bleeds into Europe and then spills over into the rest of the world. So you have a lot of this culture war nonsense going on, and the gender war nonsense is it's a subcategory of the culture war nonsense, and it's really bothering me lately. So the status quo have changed the power dynamics. Now women hold more power than they used to have, and now have more options and can pick more options. And apparently it seems, according to statistics, young men, are having less and less parental father figures in their lives, or, good male figures to look up to in today's society. So we've got now a status quo, a time where women have, thankfully, managed to reach a point where they do not rely on men to survive. So they have more options to look into to find, a man that suits them. But young men have found a little bit of a disadvantage, you see. Now they've reached a point where they're also always hearing shit, women talking shit about men, or society talking shit about men. And these young men do not really have parental figures or positive male role models in their life. So they're going to seek people that stand out. And who stands out against this anti-male rhetoric other than people from the manosphere? The manosphere, which have some red pill, the red pill, the incel community, Andrew Tate, basically. I'm not going to go deep into this. We generally know the archetype. Basically, those people that always talk about the Sigma male, and that's how you become an alpha. And basically, those men prey upon young men or boys and try to sell them some very fucking shitty ideas. Literally sell them very fucking shitty ideas. They get paid money. they get they get paid money to spew out nonsense and poison the minds of our youth. But at the same time, can you really blame young men? As I said, they do not have really good role models to look up to, and the only people that are speaking against this current status quo, which is rather bullshit, in a liberal world, and I'm talking liberal as in a capitalist world. I'm not going to talk conservative or liberal. To me, liberals and conservatives are the same fucking shit. Same shit, different deal. Social progress under capitalism cannot happen because it's always one step forward, two steps back. But anyway. Now, the status quo also did not help women all that much. You see, women did now get more power. And with the age of social media, they now know how to use this power. A lot of women will try to go on online platforms to market themselves in some capacity. So you have things like OnlyFans and similar websites. Now here's the thing. While some women do make it big over there, they are the exception and not the rule. They are the exception that try to make it look as the rule. So a lot of women go into these kind of websites or these kinds of paths, try to sell themselves, and don't really make it. They don't really become strong, independent, and not relying on anybody to survive. Because OnlyFans is appealing to women. Let's put morality on this side. Okay, let's start. Let's because morality in this world is dropping down. Unfortunately, in my views, as I am a religious person, I do see that morality is dropping, and some sort of morality. It doesn't have to be religious. At the very least, a code of ethics going on in society is very much necessary. An overly promiscuous society is not a good society. But at the same time, an overly repressed society is not a good society, because trust me, overly sexually repressed societies breed really weird people with some really weird fetishes. Holy fucking shit. I've encountered some things online I wish to fucking unsee. I did not know some people can do some things. So there's always a fine line, a fine reasonable line where it's not a promiscuous world, but it's not an overly repressed beyond reason world. Dude, you're really asking like what? The internet is full of the nonsense. I'm not going to speak about it. It's not even worth speaking about. It's just so weird, so disturbing, so bizarre even. It's well, you say more secularism equals less morality and less accountability for people's crimes. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that, and I wouldn't necessarily make that point in here. I'm trying to analyze what has been going on. And there's a fucking storm outside. Here's hoping the internet doesn't die on me in 20 minutes. So, some women believe they can make it big. Like, again, I'm throwing morality on the side in here. I'm trying to analyze this from a non-moral perspective. Let's talk about this economically. A lot of people want economic independence. For a lot of women, the idea of selling themselves equals economic independence. However, this idea is flawed, because not all women make it to the top in such websites, in such quote-unquote jobs. I don't really consider prostituting yourself online to be a job, but to each his own. So, okay, hold on a second. My train of thought was a little bit distracted over there. Need some time to reach the station. Back to it. So you have now a world where women have overly sexualized themselves to try and gain more power in the power dynamic, whilst men have lost a little bit of power. Now women have more power, and it's not only because of gaining more rights. You see, a lot of men are also giving the message that education is not good. To just drop out and go seek some entrepreneur bullshit. Again, it also falls down under the umbrella of the manosphere, or the red-pilled assholes preying on young impressionable minds. So you have more women in the workforce, more women going for jobs that pay a lot more women in leading positions. For example, more women in corporate jobs, for example, I don't know, IT or data jobs, and it pays a lot more than an average job, anywhere else. And you have men that aren't really studying in university anymore, that are dropping out of school. And that's a phenomenon that has happened a lot in the United States of America. You see a lot of people attacking higher education because other than the student debt problem that has plagued the United States and other countries for that matter, there's also the idea that, the universities are woke, liberal, anti-moralist, attacking Western civilization and masculinity. because somewhere along the line, saying, being, you know, this macho man persona that has been marketed to us by the patriarchy for ages is actually harmful to society, is actually now a bad thing to say. It's very fucking stupid because, you see, patriarchy has harmed men a lot in the long term. Because patriarchy has put on us a lot of responsibility. It has put on us the responsibility of the protector, the responsibility of the provider. And now because, women don't anymore need us for these jobs, we start feeling less and less worthy because while society has progressed past that point, society is still enforcing on us these gender roles. I'm not going to talk about gender roles, but in this specific situation, the gender role for the man is to be provider and protector. And to add to it, it has also taught us that men shouldn't cry, that men shouldn't express their emotions. And while a lot of women would tell us, why don't men do it? A lot of women actually also prevent us from doing it. And I'd like to point out a very interesting book that I've read. And it's All About Love by Bell Hooks. I really enjoyed that book. It was a really eye-opening experience. And she talked about this. She talked about one of her partners, one of her boyfriends at the time, or I don't know. She said partner as an umbrella term. He opened up to her, and she found herself crying, unable to really comprehend the amount of pressure put on her partner. And seeing her reaction, her negative reaction, her partner never really opened up anymore about that. So now you have a status quo where men feel like they're not needed truly anymore, where women seek to be truly independent from men, where young, impressionable minds of men are being preyed upon by alpha males or, the red pillars, which, by the way, try to actually paint women as some stupid, uneducated individuals that serve nothing to society by making by sensationalizing things. For example, you have some podcasts where they bring in women that are largely uneducated or have a pornographic platform um, to promote, and because it's easier for the people in the podcast to actually manage the situation, and whenever women show up with actual good reasoning skills, um, and tries to talk back, she will never get invited ever again. You see, it's all about portraying things. And I'm not going to blame only men about it. There's a lot of women actually that do the same thing as these alpha males do, the manosphere does, but on the side of the women, trying to paint all men as pigs, all men as horrible, all men as unneeded, unnecessary, that they should all die, which bring us back to the Scum Manifesto. You see, the ideas expressed in the Scum Manifesto weren't just some crazy rambles. They did define a way of thought. They did define a certain logic, a very flawed logic, a very harmful logic. A logic that is very extreme. It inspires another extremist logic, a more masculine centric logic, or a more masculinist, or a more, male chauvinist, or even, let's just call it a patriarchal mode of thinking. It's a patriarchal mode of thinking versus this radical feminist mode of thinking, which I would like to call misandrist. You have misogyny versus misandry. You have gender wars. Now let's read a little bit uh, in the comment section here. I don't think men can learn because it's very expensive for them, so it's better to drop out and start working. Yes, there's this idea. Unfortunately, this is a lot, largely an economic problem, but there's a lot of also community schools. It's not necessary to go to a fancy university. Any kind of higher education will help you in this world. Men can and should express their feelings and cry because it's good for them. It's so bad to keep feeling locked in our hearts. When there is a story of a woman disguised as men for a day to study man's life and got depressed by how bad she was treated by women. Yes, to these both. You see, men are under a lot of stress, as well as women. And stress generally is something that builds up inside of you, and you need a way to process this. Even if you think you processed a lot of it, it's probably only droplets. So imagine it, you are a container. You are a person, you are a container. And stress pours in from a water faucet. You are always filled and quickly, and need a way to unfill yourself. So you start processing the emotions that you're going through, expressing them in a positive manner, and slowly you're emptying that storage, that baggage. But you cannot really empty all that much, because stress always can catch up to you if you're not careful. And I've had this happen a lot to me in recent times, especially with all the upsetting and saddening news going on in Palestine. It really breaks my heart, and it's actually been doing a number on my own personal well-being. Add to that other stress, other life stresses, whatever you want to call them. So generally, stress is something you need to try and process. Journaling and therapy and meditation are some good examples of way to help you process your emotions in a positive manner, because letting them build up is horrible, especially for men, because trust me, women do not want to see us broken and ashamed and beaten and just destroyed. But at the same time, it appears not a lot of them really want to handle it when we try to express our emotions. This is a mutual problem. The core idea of this stream is that we are in a social problem, a mutual problem. Also, crying is a healthy way to express our feelings. Sometimes crying is needed. That is true. You see, again, patriarchy has told men, do not cry, do not express your emotions, do not support each other, to actually compete with each other, that the downfall of another man is your uprising. And there's actually a very interesting book about this. I believe it's called The Will to Change, also by Bell Hooks, that I really wanted to read before the stream. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my hands on it. It tackles the negative effects of patriarchy on men, specifically men. A friend of mine did send me a page of it, and it really was something that I needed to check out, but sadly I could not. Excuse me. So, I've mentioned misandry versus misogyny, and I want to point something out. Misandry, or women hating men, or hating men, is largely, in most cases, based on traumatic events that women have went through, while misogyny is largely, most of the times, based on learned social behaviors that men learn from a young age. It's not to say both of these cannot be changed, Certain behaviors and attitudes can change as society changes. People can self-reflect, look at what they want to change in themselves, and do the work to change. And people can process trauma and try to get out of it. But I'm also, of course, I'm not talking all cases that way, but this is a standard built point. This is a point I wanted to make in general cases, so I want to make more of a segue into men and women on a deeper level. Now, women are actually told to be scared from a young age, because a lot of things are terrifying. What hides in the shadow in the corner of the street, what can attack you, what can take away your bodily autonomy, your rights, violate you in every sense of the word, because there's a lot of abuse against women in this world, and women have went through a lot of abuses throughout the centuries. Fucking hell, they burned them at the stake. They burned them at the stake because they owned cats, called them witches for owning cats, and burned them at the... It's insane. It's literally insane, but what can I say? See, women are a lot more cautious around men, and rightfully so. And I think a lot of men know this and are afraid of being seen as creeps when approaching women. You see, a lot of women do also, as cautious as they also want men to approach them more. This is according to statistics. It's all data. According to statistics, a lot, largely, the crushing majority of women do want more men to approach them. However, the crushing majority of men also are worried from approaching, are less likely to approach women because they are afraid of being seen as weirdos and creeps. And this is a point that I want to make, and this is a segue to something I've recently heard the other day, or practically 3 months ago. You see, this has been a build-up. This stream has been a build-up of months of research here and there, discussions with people regarding this topic. This has been a build-up. The cleavage politics. Cleavage politics. It sounds weird. It sounds like a weird word, but it was an interesting video that I watched from an Australian woman who is a male rights activist. And usually I'm cautious around women male rights activists because there are three types. You have the type that try to justify horrible behavior from men, the pick-me's, that worship men because they want men to pick them. I haven't seen too much of them, and I hope I don't see any of them. I hope they do not exist, but my intuition says that they do exist on some capacity, but they're not the majority. Another kind is actually women that pretend to be male rights activists, try to build distrust with men, and then later promote pornographic materials so that the men that already trust this woman would be more inclined, basically have a sort of parasocial relationship with her, which a lot of people do have with content creators. It it leads to them actually falling prey to a clever marketing scheme by such women, where they promote the pornographic material and to sell them to these emotionally vulnerable men that went through a lot of shit by under the guise of being supportive of men and their issues. And then you have the third kind, and the kind that have my utmost respect. It's the kind that want to see a equal society where both men and women are respected as human beings, where men are not treated as disposable or as useless, and where women are not put under the boot once again. Basically, they want to break the status quo and bring in a better society, as opposed to the manosphere that wants to break the status quo by returning to a patriarchal society, be it a morally religious one or a degenerate one. Patriarchy is not about moral, it's not always religiously moral or moral. A lot of patriarchy is rooted in sexual degeneracy, for example, or hypersexualization in society. Because after all, there's two things that sell in media: fear and sex. And women has been a lot sexualized in media for that same number to go up. Now back to cleavage politics. Funny word, cleavage politics. What is cleavage politics? It relates to men being seen as creepy or weird. And I'm gonna put a little bit responsibility here on women for this one. uh, as it should be. There is a video of a woman who said that her husband is her boss and she will do what. That's fucking bullshit. Okay, like I understand the sentiment of being loyal to your spouse, and being supportive of him, but basically, it's basic. I remember seeing two different media personalities in Egypt. One of them says that all men are dogs and should die, and the other one says that a woman's rightful place is to kiss the feet of her husband every single day. It's weird, and I oppose both of them. I believe it's fucking dog shit crazy, but it is what it is. But back to cleavage politics. So, and I want to make something perfectly clear here before I delve any deeper into this, because I do not want to be understood in a wrong manner by any woman that would watch this, or any man who would watch, or anyone really. Anyone really. I don't care if your fucking cat is watching this, or your hamster. I don't want that little rodent misunderstanding what I'm going to say. What I'm going to say, and I should have probably started with like a trigger warning or something like, oh, this thing stream would discuss a lot of themes of abuse, uh, sexual assault, violence against men and women. It's practically, I think it should be expected, but I really should have said this in the start of the stream. It's my bad, but basically, yeah, if I haven't said anything fucking weird at the start, maybe shit would get a little bit too intense in here. But yeah, again, you have been warned. I do not in any way, shape, or form say that if a woman gets sexually assaulted, it is her fault. It is never the fault of the victim. Victim blaming should not be a thing. Just because she's dressed in a certain way does not give any person a right that that just because a person is dressed a certain way does not make it right for another person to say, "Oh, I had some urges and I acted upon them because I have been provoked." We are fucking human beings. We have we have thumbs, retractable thumbs. We have a reasoning skills. We have, critical thinking. I hope. We are not fucking animals. I do not know if you believe in Darwin's theory of evolution. If you consider yourself the missing link between the great primates and the Homo sapiens, I don't know what kind of person you consider yourself. If you're more animal than human, but saying I had urges is not a fucking excuse. That out of the way, let's delve a little bit into it. And I'm going to focus a lot on women in this because I've noticed it a lot in women, but it can happen in some cases with men. But again, I'm talking about the general attitudes in society, not every case by case. Again, if there is a case by case thing, it's a case by case thing. Every case needs to be seen in its own, bubble, or not bubble, its own circumstances. But I'm not going to talk about general attitude. Let's just say a woman is dressed in skimpy clothes, clothes showing her body a lot more. She should not be surprised that some people, be it men or women, would actually stare or look. Because after all, the kind of clothing, and since we're talking cleavage politics, I'm going to focus on the cleavage, showing the with that Egyptian guy who killed his friend because she, yeah, that's an example of violence against women. It's the case of a college student in Egypt that was murdered by her classmate because she refused his hand in marriage. It's a pretty disgusting thing that had happened. I think the man has got the death penalty. Screw that shit. There's a lot of violence against women in this world. But again, now let's focus about the cleavage because it's the namesake of the idea. Excuse me. Let's say a woman dresses in a certain way that accentuates her cleavage or breasts that show a lot more of her cleavage. It is safe to say that when someone dresses that way, they are intentionally putting a focus on her chest, on her cleavage area. So it is safe to say people will end up staring. It's not wrong for people to stare. When you accentuate something or dress in a certain way that accentuate a certain body portion of yours, people are going to stare, regardless if it's men or women. People are going to stare. And simply staring at something that you chose to accentuate in public does not equal creepy behavior. I mean, I understand somebody staring for too long can be bad, but it's like a few seconds. it's not creepy behavior. It's actually a natural human response. And I know a lot of people will say, well, she has the right to dress however she wants, and you know, largely, I'm a guy that likes the philosophy of live and let live. As long as it doesn't affect me, I don't have a problem with it on a personal level. And yeah, she has the right to dress however she wants, and I'm taking away, a lot of my own personal views about ethics and morality and religiosity and faith, because these are all my own personal views. They shouldn't be imposed on the rest of society. I have my views on how society should be run, but again, we're taking all of that aside. We're talking in a more objective manner. Or let's say a guy is dressed in a very tight pants that accentuate the bulge in his pants. People will stare, and simply staring is not creepy. Excuse me if I'm coughing. I've had this type of allergy thing since December. It's really annoying, and it acts up a little bit at night. But anyway. Oh hey, SLR 44. It's nice to see you in one of my streams again. But yeah, when you dress in a certain manner that accentuate a certain body part, people are going to stare. And there's a lot of problem when women who dress in that certain way, knowing that it accentuates that body part, which would uh, lead to people actually staring for a few seconds maybe, calling men creeps or trying to record men looking at them and saying, oh, look at these creepy men, and trying to shame men, you know, it really does not help. You see, men, when they see this shit happen, they're not going to approach any women in fear of their life being destroyed, because there's a lot of false accusation of sexual assault. You know, I do not deny that women are women are the target of sexual violence. It is a fact. It is a sad fact. It needs to be stopped, and if not stopped, reduced as much as possible. With far stricter punishments for rapists of all kinds. But I do not believe simply staring should be equated to sexual assault. I do not believe, because some women do believe that going to, that actually uh, okay, it was okay. Hold on. Okay, we're getting back the frame rate. We are getting back the frame rate. Holy shit. Okay, that was okay, okay, okay. Are we still on the stream? Are we still streaming? Please tell me we're still streaming. Okay, thank God that worked. Because that frame rate drop, it was linked to some bullshit in the Wi-Fi, and it almost killed the stream, and I hate it when it happens. I literally had a Wi-Fi power bank installed to stop this bullshit. Okay, can you guys hear me now? Can you guys hear me now better? Okay, good, good. Back on track. Okay, so as I was saying, there's a lot of women that consider that if a man approaching them in public, in a public space, which is a very safe, it's very safe to be in a public space, approaching them and saying, hey, I saw you from across the room, I think you're lovely, and I'd like to, take you out on for a cup of coffee, maybe. So a lot of okay, I'm not going to say a lot of women, but a certain percentage of women do see this as sexual harassment, which is not the case. That's why men are less likely to approach women. And that adds into the problem. You see, women are asking, where are all the good men? Where all the good men are? And the men are saying, we're afraid of approaching women because a single wrongful accusation can nuke our entire fucking lives. The gender war problem. All right. I'm actually getting towards this. This is it's a good question, Batandas. You know what is my proposition to end the gender wars, and this is the conclusion to this stream. We will reach it when we reach it, and I hope you stick around until then. I hope you enjoy the stream, and now we shall proceed. So as you can see, men are afraid from approaching women, and women are asking, why aren't all the men? Where are all the men? You know, and and it's not because men are incompetent or they are fools or are bad, but at the same time, a lot of men feel, because of this, attitude that, excuse me, I raised my voice a little bit, because of this attitude that if they even look in a woman's direction, they are being creepy, and if they approach a woman, they can have their lives ruined. They feel like it's not worth it anymore. It's not worth it to even take care of themselves to impress women, because that's like an attitude where a lot of men try to better themselves to impress women, and they it's okay. It's two schools of thought. It's two schools of thought in here. The first school of thought is, why even fucking bother bettering my life? Why not just lock myself in a room all day, every day, play video games, watch movies, do something that entertains me as a single man? Because, approaching women is a fucking nightmare. That's the first school of thought. Why even take care of my own hygiene if I'm not taking care of myself for anyone? Which is a bad view. It's a negative thing to do. Hygiene is good, people. Take showers regularly. The second school of thought is, well, fuck women, fuck everything. It's time to focus on myself, and I'm going to go to the gym, and I'm going to get buff, and that's also a negative thing. It's good to self-improve. It is incredibly good to learn new skills, to hone your already existing skills, to go onto a higher level of education, get a degree, to be fit physically. But the problem here is with the rhetoric that I just spoke of, the second school of thought here, is that the gym cells, people who go to the gym because they feel working out and getting a bodybuilder's physique will heal them on some level emotionally. They repress their emotions and instead go out and work out. I see that a lot in the younger generations. You see a lot of young men that are physically fit, but not so much emotionally stable or emotionally mature, for that matter. And speaking of maturity, there's a drop in maturity. A lot of this can be blamed on the lockdown period, because you have a lot of people who were 16 when the lockdown started, or they were 18 when the lockdown started, and were thrown into their homes 24/7 for approximately 2 years. They didn't really socialize all that much, or had proper socialization, so their skills are kind of still stuck in the teenage form. So they're adults legally, but socially not so much. And yes, social media does play a role in propagating horrible ideas. What I believe is, men and women should generally strive to better themselves, because bettering yourself opens up more options. And this is a good segue to talk about the dating market. Ugh, I really hate that term. I seriously hate that term, the dating market. I hate the idea of commercializing human beings into a market, but in a more logical sense, it can be called a market because, well, generally speaking, there is some supply and demand mechanics. The demand is single people wanting to be in relationships. The supply is single people wanting to be in relationships. For example, the demand is women wanting a good guy. The supply is men who work on themselves, who try to unlearn some shitty social behaviors that society had taught us and ingrained into us, internalized patriarchal thinking that really harms us as much as harms women. So it is sort of a market. And if you want to date someone that, looks better, you need to have something going on for you. The more you better yourself, the more opportunities you open up. The more ambitious you are, the more opportunities you open up. But at the same time, people need to be realistic. The problem is, in the quote-unquote dating market, people sometimes are a little bit delusional. They set their standards a little bit too high for their own good. Now, I think the problem is that people do not want to settle on anything that they do not deem as perfect, because the idea of settling is coined as a negative term, which is not the case. It shouldn't be the case. Settling for somebody who is decent is better than staying single for the rest of your fucking life. I mean, that's a general good rule. There's a good channel out there that it's called Homath, I believe. I've watched a couple of videos of it. It kind of explains things in a more. It kind of talks about men and women in relationship, and shows some charts. And I thought the way that the videos are made is pretty cool. Pretty informative too. And I've heard from women that my lady friends, that he's usually spot on when it comes to women, that he got them figured out and women hate it. Oh. And I'm going to talk about how social media ruined dating in a bit. But first of all, let's talk about the idea of settling, and let's talk about the idea of bettering yourself. I've talked about bettering yourself. Now, why settling is coined with bad things? Because again, ideas propagated that you should not settle at anything less than Mr. or Mrs. Perfect. And flash news here: there's no person who is fucking perfect in this world. No. That's why I want to delve into something important when looking into relationships that men and women should keep in mind. Usually, men and women, people, I'm just gonna say people, mix in. And before I continue, I've mentioned a lot men and women, men and women, men and women. Aside from any all moral views, any or religious views or social views, um, I want to acknowledge that there are some types of relationships that are not quote unquote heteronormative. There are homosexual relationships of different kinds, and it's kind of forms that I do not want to touch. I did not want to touch on this thing because it's not really my topic. My focus is heterosexual relationships because that is far more my field, as I am a straight guy. I'm a straight lad, yeah. So it's more of my lane. So I really know a lot more when talking about that than talking about other things. I'm not really looking to talk about homosexual relationships. It's not really my field of expertise. It's not really something that I delve in on a usual basis because it doesn't really relate to me or the way that I live. So I just want to cover these bases because it's really sometimes, sadly, it is hard to talk about these subjects on social media. You have all kind of people, literally fucking radical liberals, the quote unquote woke people. And by the way, the term woke is not a bad term, but there are dipshits out there that do dipshit shit, that care about really silly nonsense. and would probably call me a fucking fascist. I've been actually called a fucking fascist by them at one point or another, which is fucking hilarious. And I've been called by right wing conservatives from Western countries a filthy communist, which is also laughable. I am neither a fascist nor a communist. I have expressed my ideological leanings before multiple times. I am an Arab socialist. Anyway, moving on, as I was saying, relationships. People unfortunately confuse three things into one: relationship, sex, and love. These things are confused and taken to a more idealistic view, while this should not be the case. You see, relationship, sex, and love can be three separate things. Two people can love each other so much, but they cannot be a good couple because of one reason or another. I will not delve into it. It's always a case by case basis. But, excuse me. But, you know, some couples are really madly in love with each other, but they really cannot be together, or they do not work together well in a relationship or in a family. Um, then you have the idea of sex. People can be living a good life in a relationship. They can love each other deeply. However, they their bodies are not really compatible with each other on a sexual level. And I know there's wait, that's what I would recommend some YouTubers that have talked about this stuff. I can call a cartel member. Holy shit. People call you a cartel member just because you mix. That is fucked up, man. Oh, by the way, speaking of recommending things, I do want to actually recommend a video that I watched the other day, and I'm actually going to name drop a few things later. Please remind me to name drop them later. A couple of videos that talk about this. I should have probably linked them, but I forgot about that. My bad. um, yeah, I'm gonna get around later by the end of the stream. Please, somebody remind me. All right. So you have these three different things. Now, let's focus first about relationships, or families is another term I'd like to actually attribute to them. Let's talk about arranged marriages. In arranged marriages, usually it's two families marrying their children to each other. It's a practice that solidarity with Mexican brothers and sisters. Oh shit! Okay, it's probably the internet. Hopefully, my voice is now back to normal. So, what are you what the fucking about, MK? What is it that you're what the fucking about? What is it that appalled you? Before I move on, to tackle this point. Ah, oh yeah, racism. Also, he's Turkish, so he's also kinda our kind of brown. So, tackle that. Now we move on. Let's talk about arranged marriages. It's a practice in a lot of countries, and people in arranged marriages can love each other, but not necessarily in a romantic way. You see, when you live with someone for so long, you love them as more of a friend, like a friend that you build a family with and have children with. You're not really madly in love with them. They're not the love of your life, but you two work together. It's sometimes arranged marriages are two people that seems independently away from any family rituals or whatever. They see that it is more convenient for them to be living together as a married couple, for reasons that are X, Y, and Z. Maybe a fucking tax break. I don't know. Or maybe it's more convenient for them socially to present themselves as a married couple while living together as roommates. And over time, it's a relationship. They'd love each other, they'd support each other, not necessarily as romantically, but more in a friendly way. Like, yeah, we have children. You're not the love of my life, but I love you, I respect you, I support you, and we need to work together for our children's sake, our family's sake. You see, a lot of relationships were pretty open historically. Well, I'm not really sure about that. I didn't really delve into that, and I don't really want to delve a lot into open relationships because, you know, I've heard two schools of thought about this. They either are done really well, there's a good system behind it, open relationships or polygamy or polyamory, or it's really a justification for someone to be a fucking whore. Be it a man or a woman. I'm not here shaming, but I've actually heard this. Okay, maybe the word whore was too much. Okay, maybe the word whore was too much. So I'm going to roll back a little bit. And say some people would use that to justify some of their actions that can be seen as treacherous to their partners, as cheating, or as attitudes toward you know dealing with other part. It's a kind of form that I do not really want to touch upon. So I'm going to focus more on one-on-one relationships here, as again this is more my lane to talk about. Let's see. Not for though there has been a historic double standard that usually favors men. Unfortunately, hello, Bodhi Cat. It's nice to see you around. Not saying completely open, but I'm saying is that people often would have an affair with someone they actually. Okay, yeah. Now I'm actually going to talk about this, the affair stuff. Okay, so now we've tackled the relationship portion. Let's talk about sex. And there's a lot of taboo around sex. I'm not going to delve a lot deep into this, but sexual compatibility is a thing. Just because you love someone doesn't mean you two are sexually compatible. Maybe your bodies don't really match together. Maybe it's a biological thing. Okay, maybe your bodies don't really match together. Maybe you two are more interested in other things. Maybe someone, one of the two partners is more into exciting stuff, while the other one is more into calm, relaxed, usual ordeal. The quote unquote boring stuff. So it's more so, it's you don't always hit the fucking jackpot, and that's what I'm willing to say about sex, because honestly, that's generally what there is to say about sex. I mean, people can have all sorts of fantasies, even in a committed relationship, but as long as these fantasies stay in their heads and do not have any bearing on the real world, you guys draw your own conclusions on this. But now, love. What is love? What is Love is a good song by the German singer Hathaway. I really like it. It's probably my favorite song, It's stuck in my head. I really love it. No. What is loveth? Last don't you wound me. Don't wound me. Nay more. But in all seriousness, what is love? There's a lot of people that have tried to identify the meaning of love. Some people would go in a poetic sense and say it's this ultimate, intangible, beautiful feeling. Some people like me would call it a tender violence, and I've tried to explain this term a year ago in Let's Talk Part 2. We've really gone a long way, huh? Not enough Let's Talk streams, but a lot of time has passed. Holy shit. But over a year ago, I did talk about love being tender violence, and I've tried to explain this more or less poetic philosophical take that I have, which is a take that I do still stand by, but it needs more reasons sprinkled in. It cannot be all poetic. However, I've seen a really good explanation by this lovely woman, Bell Hooks, again in her book All About Love. Let me read you her explanation. I've pulled it up the other way. Okay, hold on. Where the fuck? Okay, I closed it. Hold on. Let me open the damn book, the damn PDF file. I believe it was on page 4. The last part of the page. Give me a second. It's inconvenient, but give me a second. I've got all night long. All About Love is actually pretty accessible online. There are a lot of versions of it, and I do really recommend you guys read it. To me, it was a really eye-opening experience. It did tell me that true love can exist multiple times in someone's life, and it does not have to lead to a relationship for it to be a true love. It simply needs to affect your life in a positive manner for it to be that way. Among other things, it really tackles love on all levels. Love as a destiny, love romantically, love in a family setting, in a friendly setting, love thy neighbor, love the humanity, love yourself first and foremost, and the love that turns into grieving after somebody we love dies. Alright, so in chapter 1, Clarity, Give Love Words, page 4, here we go. Psychiatrist M. Scott Peck's classic self-help book, The Road Less Traveled, first published in 1978. Echoing the work of Erich Fromm, he defines love as the will to extend one's self for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. Explaining further, he continues, love is as love does. Love is an act of will, namely both an intention and an action. Will also implies choice. We do not have to love, we choose to love. Since the choice must be made to nurture growth, this definition counters the more widely accepted assumption that we love instinctually. And I do believe that this definition of love is a really good one, that we choose to love. We do not fall in love. We get infatuated, yes. We like somebody very much, yes. But to love, to truly love, it is a choice we make as a person. It is a choice, again, to extend one's self for the purpose of nurturing one's own self-love or another's spiritual growth. So there is growth in love. It is not a selfish thing. Someone who loves does not hurt others that he loves or she loves. Is love from first I honestly I would not say love from first sight is true. Love from first sight is bullshit sold to us by Hollywood. There's a lot of bullshit sold to us by Hollywood. A lot of things that really make our expectations seriously unrealistic. Sometimes romanticizing the old good days, when love was true love. No. People can get infatuated. People can like somebody from the first moment they lay their eyes upon. It is natural, it is normal, it happens. I've experienced it, you've experienced it, everybody fucking experienced it. I would not say it's true, because again, you do not fall in love, you choose to love. And I think that really the definition is really good. Because it really puts someone in front of a choice. Do I actually love this person? Do I choose to dedicate my own self for our mutual growth on a spiritual level? not just physical level, on a spiritual level. It is a choice at the end. To love is to choose to love. To be attracted is a different thing. Attraction is by instinct. That is true. love love is above instincts. Love is an act of will. That being said, now we've differentiated between love. Ah, maybe I didn't talk a lot about love. Okay, let me talk a little bit more about this. Love. Seeing it as an act of will, you can love somebody, you can choose to love somebody that also chooses to love you. You can love each other so much, despite the fact you're probably not sexually compatible, despite the fact you cannot get together and build a family or be in a relationship of any kind for reasons X, Y, and Z. So now that we have differentiated between love, sex, and relationship, it's time to reach a conclusion within this triangle. The conclusion is, people will never hit the jackpot. Okay, maybe we'll never say never, but generally, most of us will never hit the jackpot. For example, me, I will probably not find a wife that we do not bicker at all, and that we are basically the dream team on a relationship level, that we love each other madly, and that we have amazing sex. That it is highly unlikely all of that will happen. Okay, we're talking statistics here. We're talking logic. If it does happen, fucking good. It is the best possible outcome. Good on you, my friends. You've hit the jackpot. But realistically speaking, it will not happen. Not to everybody. Not to the majority of the population, which is what I'm talking about, the majority. You see, what needs to be done in this space, in this triangle of love, sex, relationship, is to choose, basically, first of all, there's two things. The first is to choose your priorities. What do you prioritize in these three? Now, of course, the three should be in your priorities, but which one is ranked the most? For someone who wants to build a family, he would not care too much if he has, true love with their spouse, or basically they are mildly in love with each other, because at the end of the day, his focus is nurturing this family, or basically raising his kids or her kids in a more familiar setting, in a positive environment, to work for that family, to spend on that family. And when your priority is relationship / family, you cannot prioritize love, in the sense that maybe you do not love your spouse the way you love someone else. But just because you're not madly in love with your spouse, or have that true love between each other, or that romantic love, you guys have this friendship love going on, this platonic love between each other, this husband-wife kind of love, this, basically a long-standing roommate that you really like, really support, really vibe with kind of love, but not romantic one. If you value family and stability in family and relationship, you will not go out of your way and have an affair. Romantic love is fleeting, maybe, maybe not. We're gonna talk this in a bit. So, you see where I'm going? It's about priorities. Let's say you prioritize love over everything else. It means that you will not enter in a relationship with someone that you do not love. Maybe you will never enter in a relationship and yet be in love with somebody that is also in love with you, and you two will never get together. But still, hang around and have these feelings for each other and express these feelings in a multitude of different ways. For example, someone who has love as a priority will not really care much if the sex is good or not, or not really care much if he ends up having children with that person that they love, or building a family or a relationship, or being out in the open as lovers. And if you value sex over everything else, you really shouldn't. You sort of don't really need to be in a, like, you can't be in a relationship that is stable, because unless if you value sex, you will not hang around with someone you're not sexually compatible with. Love or not, relationship or not, marriage or not, you're gonna go around and have sex with people that are incompatible with you. Maybe not just one partner, but multiple partners. Maybe at that time, fucking, live the bachelor or life. Live the single life, because it opens you more opportunities for sexual encounters. Now, of course, I do oppose such ideas. I do oppose that sex should be a priority. You know, sex isn't just a biological need for reproduction. It is more of a sense, an act of, in my eyes, it is the act of utmost trust and love towards somebody. I've talked about it before in Love is Tender Violence. But I'm here talking about multiple perspectives. So now that we have seen the difference between these three, and that we should prioritize we should pursue what we prioritize more as a person, here's the second thing that we need to do about this differentiation. Have realistic fucking expectations. Because we cannot have everything we want to have. We cannot have it all. It is impossible to have it all. Even if you prioritize one of these three, be it love, sex, or family, we cannot expect everything will go perfect all the way and smooth riding into the sunset. It doesn't happen that way. And we shouldn't really hold up on meeting Mr. or Mrs. Perfect in the category that we have prioritized, because Mrs. or Mr. Perfect, Miss or Mr. Perfect do not fucking exist. Again, we need to settle for the best that we have in the circumstances that we are in. And people really hate the idea of settling, but again, would you rather be fucking lonely for the rest of your life, or do you rather settle for someone that you vibe with, that have the same priorities as you, that also is willing to settle for you? You settle for them, they settle for you. Settling is not a negative thing. On the contrary, settling is a positive thing, because you're fucking realistic. That's number one. And two, you're not gonna live alone for the rest of your life. And speaking of living alone for the rest of your life, there's this thing that I want to comment on. This sensationalized idea by right-wing manosphere, red pill, whatever the fuck you want to call them, media, that women above the age of 30, once they reach the age of 30, they hit the wall, that become undesirable. Here's the funny thing, because statistics show that the least single portion of the population are women aged between 30 and 45. So like you say that they're not desirable, they hit the wall. If that's true, then all of them would be fucking single, right? But the statistics show they are the least single portion of the fucking population. Like a woman in that age group that is single is either very unlucky, which happens, or is a recently divorced, recently widowed, it happens. Or maybe, just maybe, she's a horrible person and nobody wants her. All of these cases exist. I'm not saying they're all mutually exclusive. I'm not saying, it's all or nothing. What the fuck I'm talking about? I'm not saying that women that are single in that age group are bad women. Not at all. They can be wonderful. As I said, they could be recently widowed, recently divorced, or simply had a streak of bad luck. Or maybe they were also holding on for, waiting for Mr. Perfect to show up in their lives, and he will probably never show up. So, yeah, again, I don't want to be taken in the wrong way. So now, we've talked about this priorities, being realistic. But that's unfortunately not really the case nowadays. You see, social media, especially dating apps, are a different game. Now, before I talk about dating apps, let's say, where would someone actually meet people, ask people out, get to know people? I believe that all good relationships start with friendship, a friendship that does evolve over time, based on mutual understanding and mutual attraction. It's good to know somebody, before you develop a relationship with them. That's the ideal. And but where would you meet these people? You see, usually guys and gals can meet each other and develop friendships and relationships in settings such as in any community settings. It could be community events. It could be school, university, work environment. Let me finish before you start commenting. Let me finish. I know it sounds a little bit bad. Maybe church or any other religious community or religious center or house of worship that brings people together. Um, I'm not saying here that people should go out to these places scouting for love interests or for potential partners. No, 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 no. I'm saying that these places usually is where people build bonds together. And these bonds can evolve in different ways. Maybe let's just say that I am at work. I have a coworker that I like, and we really vibe together. We really support each other at work. We make a good team when working together. And I like her personality. I like the way she talks. I like the things she talks about. I like her hobbies. Maybe we share certain hobbies. And I decide, I want to get to know this woman better. I like her. I'm attracted to her on some level, on some capacity. I want to get to know her better. So after our shift is over, I go and tell her, or after our work hours is up, I approach her and tell her, hey, let's have a coffee sometime. Or maybe go ahead and say, I was thinking of grabbing a cup of coffee, to relax and unwind a little bit. And I really hate spending the time alone. It's kind of boring. How about you come with me? I'm inviting you. And I dead ass used that fucking line. I dead ass used that line to actually ask a friend out. A guy friend, because literally I wanted to hang out with friends. I wanted to go out with friends, have fun. And I spent the first few years of my university, studying at home because of COVID, and there's a lot of stress afterwards. And I found myself, this year is not too stressful. I need to build connections with people. I cannot be a loner forever. So I did this. Went to a lovely classmate of mine, very lovely, a gentleman, a really classy gentleman, with some mischief, with a little bit of a mischievous side to him. Really fun person. I told him, I'm thinking of grabbing a cup of coffee after the lecture, and I'd hate to spend the time alone. Would you like to, hang out a little bit? He said yes. That was a wonderful thing. So yeah, back to our topic. It happens, this shit happens. This is how this shit should supposed to happen. It's supposed to happen. For people to build relations in such places. If you come to America, I will do my best to get you a girl. Well, thank you, my friend. Thank you. Okay. You will do your best to get me a girl. I appreciate the sentiment. I do appreciate the sentiment. Well, who knows? Who knows? Let's just keep that thrown out in the realm of hypothetical possibilities. I generally like to hang out with you. You seem like a very decent person to hang out with, and it would be fun. But back to our conversation. What was I saying? Ah, yes. You see, ideally, these are the places people would actually build bonds and form relationships. But sadly, because of the current status quo, as I have explained before, a lot of men are more reluctant in these places. It's not to say that workplace harassment doesn't exist. It's not to say that on campus sexual assault does not exist. It does exist. It's ugly. It needs to stop. However, because of the current state's attitude in the status quo, these places that are the ideal place for people to communicate and build relationships together has become unsafe for such practices. So people have decided to go to clubs and bars. But clubs and bars are usually meat markets. That's basically what they are. Let's be honest with ourselves. Now, maybe not everybody is out there in the club or the bar wanting to get laid. Maybe some of them will just want to have fun. Maybe some generally think they'd meet somebody there. But generally speaking, most of them there aren't seeking a relationship. They're seeking a one night stand at most. So people don't get what they want from these meat markets and decide to go somewhere else. And what's the last place left for them? Dating apps. And now we get into dating apps. I feel like it must be hard for a place like Lebanon that's transitioning. The older generations are conservative, are as many young people, and dating is still kind of taboo. Well, it really depends on what you consider dating. Like, I'd argue that people going out together and getting to know each other can be considered as dating. And I personally, I don't think it's a bad thing. I'm not really a fan of cohabitation though. I'm not really a fan of cohabitation, and I'm not really a fan of sex outside of relationships generally. But that's all my own personal views. But yes, it really depends on each community in Lebanon and its attitude. If it's more open towards Western ideas or more close towards them. It varies, and even within a community, between those that are more conservatives or more liberals. So it really varies on these two axes. Social media, dating apps. Dating apps are not the best to meet a soulmate or to meet a partner. You see, the way dating apps function is that there's like 80% men, 20% women. And let me just read a little bit more in the comment section before I get into it. An Armenian thinker I know said that marriage should not be completely done away with and degraded, but it should not be sanctified more than it can absorb because it is somewhat fragile by nature. An example for over-sanctification being the Old West and some Islamic societies, and an example of complete destruction being the modern West. I wouldn't say over-sanctification, in Islam there is an over-sanctified sanctification. Sanctification. I fucking hate English. It is my third language. I speak it well, but I fucking hate it because of these words. I wouldn't say Muslim marriages are over sanctified. I'd say they are closer to civil marriages, but more religious in nature. It is, at the end of the day, a contract, as opposed to Christian marriages, which are by nature sanctified, because to Christians it is okay. What do I call it in English? The seven secrets. It's not Ten Commandments. It's seven secrets. I believe they're called. Not. It's in Arabic. It's called that way. I'm not sure in. I'm not sure what they are in English. When I was dating, I was quite successful. To be honest, I have never seen an issue, but I have friends that have. So I know I will not. In a sense, yeah. In a sense, I think Muslim marriages do get it right on some level. A lot of people would try and say, well, there's bride price and whatnot, but uh, then again, in Western marriages, bride price is basically a diamond ring. It's the same concept, different execution. And in Islam, more it's like it's not bride price. In theory, it's not bride price. It's more something you pay the woman as part of the contract. It could be something that is of genuine value. It could be something more or less uh, symbolic in nature, like a dollar maybe. It's a contract at the end of the day. I wouldn't really. I would say yes. We shouldn't give marriage more sanctity than it can absorb. In my own opinion, it is a contract. It is a contract at the end of the day. I do believe that civil marriage also is flawed, especially in the terms of tax breaks, because holy shit, that opens a lot of way for corruption. I do believe, in terms of marriages, in a multi-religious society, that each community should be allowed to have their own types of marriages, and for said marriage to be, recognized by the state. At the same time, civil marriage should exist as an option for people that wants to use it. Add to it, the government should really put like an age of consent, because holy shit, some Christian denominations, like, they speak bad about Muslims and the age gap, but holy shit, some Christian denominations, I did not know you can marry someone that young. Woo! I studied all of that like a couple years ago in college. So the FL, the radical moments. I'm not going to talk about some small, weird religious sects. It's not really my area of speciality. Again, um, I think sometimes each society should, recognize what they can recognize. I think impeding on people's, religious values is good. However, a lot of that I have a lot of questions, interrogation points regarding Mormonism. It's something that I don't really want to delve into. I don't really like to delve into some weird sects within big religions, like Jehovah's Witnesses and whatnot. It's really not my thing. I'd rather stay with the general thing, the recognized religious communities, at least in my country. I'm talking. We do have actually Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm not sure if they're actually recognized as a religious community. I don't think they are, but there are laws that state, for example, people that cannot, swear an oath religiously, basically Jehovah's Witnesses, should be exempt from it. anyway, anyway, dating apps. Marriage is a very interesting thing, and marriage is something that we can talk about a lot about, and maybe we can actually proceed and talk a little bit about later. But I do want to focus on the topic at hand right now, so that the ideas are still connected. Dating apps. So dating apps, as I said, 80% are men, 20% are women. So what conclusions do we draw from this? Just from this statistic, that there is a larger pool of choices given to women. Again, here women have also the power to choose. And what does result from that? Of course, not all men will be chosen. They will be filtered out. So men on social media or men on dating apps, what do? They want to increase their possibility of getting chosen. So, which is the easier way? Do you improve yourself actually to be more desirable, or you straight up fucking lie? It's the internet. Who's gonna know? After all, most men's goal on dating apps, I'm just gonna say primarily Tinder is for hookups. So from how it acts, from how it operates, apparently. So men will need to find a way to actually impress the girls. So they lie and lie a lot. And a lot of men are really ready to lie just to seal the deal. They want to sleep with a woman. They do not care if the woman later knows the truth. He could literally sleep with a woman and then go ahead and tell her, "I lied to you about everything. Have a good life," and disappears from her life forever. Men do lie, okay, because it increases their chances of being picked on dating apps. So let's say, but it has a really huge negative effect because you see, when one man lies, this puts the idea that all men lie. So next time a genuine guy would come in, maybe Mr. Perfect incarnate, and the woman would say, "Nah, he's a fucking liar." Which, to be honest, is a good thing on some level, that people need to be more cautious with strangers online, especially. But seriously, seriously, guys, do not fucking lie on dating apps. You're ruining it for the rest of us. You are reinforcing misandrist ideas. For the love of God. And especially, and if you're a little bit charming, do not toy with women. Do not toy with women. Do not say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. No, 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 no. Because again, it makes us all look bad. Same thing for women. Be smart about your actions, because your actions can instill in a person's mind that all women are a certain way. So you see, there's a lot of lying and catfishing. There's most of pictures out there on dating apps are filters, anyways, which really annoys me. Personally, I'm more of a genuine person. I know a lot of people say they're actually genuine, but they're fucking lying. But people who know me, people who really know me, not a lot of my viewers do actually know me. We talk away from streams. We have a Discord community where you can communicate with me from time to time. It's linked in the channels about me section. I'd recommend you join our server. I'd really like to meet more of my fans, more of my viewers. But yeah, I'm a person that really doesn't understand why people lie online, because I'm more of a genuine person. Like, if I do not want to say something, I simply don't say it. But it's not like lying by withholding information, because lying can be in two ways: either straight up lying, saying false information, give false information, or withdraw information, withheld information. So you either lie by not telling the whole truth, basically withholding some informations that will give the other person an idea that is not that of founded in reality, or you straight up make some bullshit claims. So you're making false information and feeding it to paint a different image in someone's mind. Both of those are considered as lying, legally speaking as well. Like, holy shit, I like, that was one of the first things I learned in when studying contracts. And for those who don't know, I'm a law graduate. I'm currently doing my first year of masters. Hopefully by next year I'd be a lawyer. Here's hope. If you use dating app, don't lie, but think, would a woman like this, and what kind of a woman would like this? Well, basically, I think the best way is to be the best you that you can be, but at the same time, you're at a disadvantage because there's a lot of men that will lie on dating apps. So dating apps already put people at a disadvantage. It's really a bad place for people to meet. You know, the idea of a dating app has occurred to me in a while. Currently I'm focusing more on my own studies and building relationships with friends. I'm not really desperate to be in a relationship, but I was thinking, considering it, because when I think that I do want to get into a relationship, should I use a dating app? And the conclusion that I reach is hell fucking no. I ain't touching that shit with a 10-foot pole. It's not for me. It's not for anybody. Nobody should use it. Seriously, we need to bring back these unsafe places for developing relationships. We need to bring them back to their glory. We need to bring them back to their natural state of being. And also, women should seriously fucking lower their standards sometimes. Again, we're back to the idea that both men and women should lower their standards, but when it comes to taking dating apps, lowering your standards and settling as a woman will help you find a better match, maybe one that isn't really lying. Because the when the bar is not too high when it comes to expectations, um, and the bar is not too high, people will not lie. That rhymes actually. When the bar is not too high, people will not fucking lie. Then again, a lot of women have put the bar the bar for some women, for a lot of women, is literally the floor. But many men are not doing the bare minimum. And that's because, again, we brought back to the initial idea we've talked about at the start of the stream. Because of this current gender war nonsense, because of this current status quo, a lot of men, see as it's really, it's not their, like why even bother? Why even bother? So they do not really take care of themselves. And taking care of yourself is basically the floor when it comes to the bar. The bar is at the floor, and the floor is taking care of yourself, and somehow you dig under it with this negative mentality. Most friends who use dating apps I've talked to said it's soul crushing. Yes, dating apps is a soul crushing experience. You're either lying to sleep with a woman, or you're not being picked by a woman because, well, there's other matches that might be better than you physically or in other attributes, and maybe they are lying. Maybe you are better than them. But the others are lying, so they have the advantage. You believe men don't have confidence, women don't like guys who don't believe in themselves. Or yes, thank you, good sir, because this is a good segue to speak a message towards men and specifically the guys. I do recommend you ladies do hear me though. It is also important for you to hear that. Fellas, gentlemen, my viewers, I've actually made this stream. Well, when I first had the idea of this stream conceived in my head, it was for you. It was for the young men that watch my content. It was for the young men that I am a part of you. I am part of that demographic. We are together in this. The status quo is fucked for all of us. And I've noticed a lot of things when it comes to men. Especially online, how they act. And I've heard a lot of stories from women about how men act. And I've talked to men, I've talked to women about these things. And, here's my conclusions, gentlemen. Self-confidence is key. Loving yourself is key. A lot of men might think that being, I'm so bad at this, I'm so ugly, I'm so would get them a pity fuck. And even if it succeeds, again, it's a pity fuck. It's pity. They don't like you, they feel sorry for you. Is this really what you want to, is this really what you want to have? I don't believe so. I believe that us as men can actually do better. We can first work more on ourselves, both physically and spiritually, in terms of emotions and the way we think, in terms of maturity. Women like confidence. They like maturity. They like being, respectful. I know a lot of people try to paint women as these whores that like to be disrespected. It's far from the truth. And if they do, they would not tolerate it from anybody but their partners. Or so I heard. So gentlemen, the first step is actually believing in yourself. Actually, in the real world, if you try and approach women, that's the first step. You know, because I've actually watched a video recently before the stream and a couple of days ago, and it really says that most men in the real world that do approach women have a more success rate because you're actually approaching them. A lot of women want to be approached. A lot of women like self-confidence. A lot of women like men who can take care of themselves, who can take care of their hygiene, who can dress nicely. I'm not telling you to go out in a tuxedo every day. Frankly, that's fucking weird. Who goes out in a tuxedo every fucking day? It's strange. It's really strange. What kind of wedding are you going to? Are you working as a valet in a valet? As a valet in a Italian restaurant's parking lot? It's yeah, dressing in suits all the time is okay. Dressing in suits all the time is not good. Give me 5. Okay, give me 30 seconds. I need to fix something, and then I'm back. Okay. Okay. Fuck my back. My back. Ooh. Okay. Okay. Alright, I'm back. It's there was an electricity thing. I was fixing it. No worries. My throat is fucking sore. I'm going to regret this tomorrow morning. Well, it's already tomorrow. It's 2 a.m. Let's continue the conversation. Gentlemen, again, excuse the interruption. As I was saying, women like confidence. Women will like a man that can take care of himself. Women do not like clinginess. Clingy behavior is bad behavior. And women do not like people who are extremely anxious and lack the self-confidence. For example, if a woman is busy, you know, and she's not responding to your messages, do not, go, like, hey, how are you? What did I do wrong? Is it something I said? Is it something I did? No, 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 no. This is a spiral. When you overthink these things, it leads to a spiral. If a woman is, if someone is clearly ghosting you, is not giving you the same energy, is not really giving that same interest, these are signs that maybe that person isn't really interested in you. And if that happens, it's not the end of the world. You move on, you find someone that also is interested in you. Do not let these ideas take hold of you. This overthink. Of course, I'm not talking about the creepy fucks out there, because there's a lot of creepy fucks out there. Holy fucking shit, women are harassed a lot online. You would not believe even if I told you. Yikes, I've heard some horror stories. Woo! Yeah, no bueno. No bueno. Very fucked up. It is a very fucked up. Yeah. If you're a fucking creep, seriously get some fucking help. And when I mean creep, like you're making multiple different accounts, stalking a girl online and in the real world, trying to dox her, trying to, it's really weird. It is really weird. If you do any of that kind of creepy shit, that is actually creepy shit, please stop. Get some fucking help. For the rest of us, normal human beings, I want to say that spiraling is bad. No, I've spiraled in my ideas before. I've overthink before and spiraled about a lot of things, and it didn't bring me anything but a feeling of pain, and insecurity. You know, when you should always think, always assess the situation. Let's say you're talking to this girl, you're really hitting it off very well. She expressed that she likes you a lot, in fact, but she's also a busy person, so she's not going to be able to message you all the time. If she doesn't respond to all of your messages, or if she doesn't respond to your messages shortly, doesn't mean that she's ignoring you. No. No, 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 not at all. Actually, if you ask her if you're ignoring her, if she's ignoring you, she's gonna actually start ignoring you. You see, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you treat people a certain way, thinking that they're treating, okay, when you treat people on the basis that they're treating you or they're thinking a certain way, they will start thinking a certain way. For example, if a woman thinks, and I'm saying, I'm giving a woman as an example, as I saw this example from a lady comedian that I saw once, on YouTube. That's where I got the term self-fulfilling prophecy, actually. When you had the idea that a woman has the idea that her boyfriend is cheating on her, it's unfounded, she has no evidence, her boyfriend isn't actually cheating on her at that point. But she kept treating him in such a manner, uh, like passive aggressive manner or aggressive manner or really not lovely manner, that it actually pushed him away from her, and he ended up cheating on her. She became a self-fulfilling prophecy. She treated him as if he was cheating on her until he actually went ahead and cheated on her. This is a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you treat someone as if they're ignoring you or they hate you, they're gonna actually start ignoring you and hating you because you're giving them that sad energy. You see, this is what's going on currently. That's why a lot of men are failing at approaching women. They lack the confidence, they're acting as self-fulfilling prophecies. So what's the solution for such for such things? You can't just say, oh, do not spiral in overthinking. No, 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 no. It's sometimes hard for people. I overthink sometimes. I sometimes spiral, but I grab hold of these ideas and just shoo them away. So what do you do? In my own opinion, first of all, you think the best of people. Think of people that they're not ignoring you. Or maybe if a woman, for example, still same example, a girl is not responding to your messages, first thing you need to assume that she's working. First thing you need to assume is that she is working. She is busy. Maybe she had uh, a certain situation. She's not available currently. It happens. Shit happens. This is life. Okay, so basically assume the best first and foremost, because assuming the worst every time will lead you to spiral. However, at the same time, you need to know your worth. You see, you do not want this assume the best in people to turn into delusion that, oh, well, she's leaving me on red and she's barely giving me any kind of energy because maybe she is tired, or maybe she's treating me like shit because that's her way of showing affection. No, 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 no. Know your worth as a human being. And, if that person isn't giving you the same energy or they're not interested at all, do not waste your time anymore. But also keep in mind to never have high expectations. Because again, high expectations lead to downfall. Basically, assume the best in people. Know your own self-worth and be confident. And don't have high expectations. Settle when you can settle. Because settling is not a bad thing, dear gentlemen. And dear ladies, you too. I need to talk to the ladies too. I know patriarchal society is unjust. I know there's a lot of problems that women face that haven't really managed to overcome. I know not all societies are fair for women. However, ladies, do not blame us as men. We are a victim as well. A victim of a system that has installed in both of us certain values that really stop us from progress, stop us from reaching the potentials that we should reach. I do think that, you know, I do think you need to appreciate us more. I have no problem in you ladies wanting to actually be independent, be strong, be able to take care of yourselves, not being economically reliant on anyone else. I actually support people, all people, to not be economically reliant on others. It doesn't mean people cannot help each other financially or work together in economic projects as partners, as business partners, but I'm talking like survival type of reliance. I think that a woman does need to work, does need to make her own living, to be independent if need comes to being independent. And ladies, it's not our fault. No, I know it's easy to blame men. I know it's easy to say all men are dogs and all men are pigs. And some are horrible people. And some women are horrible people. I think it's about time we actually hold each other accountable and ourselves accountable. Not all women are right in their, um, not all women are right when they claim a man assaulted them. I understand women are more likely to be victims of assault of all kinds, especially the sexual kind. That is a fact. Is a horrible fact, a horrifying thing. But again, we need to look at each case by case with the circumstances that surround it, because really, a false conviction or a false accusation can ruin a man's reputation, a good man's reputation, a good man's life. Even if later on it is revealed to be bullshit, that accusation will follow him for the rest of his life. It will make men less, likely to approach you or to seek being with you. Understand it is a scary world, especially for you ladies. But it's also not all that good for us. The world is scary for you, but at the same time, it is softer on you. It is harder on us. Because again, of these patriarchal values, or rather patriarchal modes of thinking that has been installed in us since our birth, both men and women. And I think it's about time both of us just give up this idea of blaming each other. You know, I'm going to use a saying we have here. Behind every great man, there's a woman. Another saying would be what Mao Zedong said once. I'm not sure what you think about Mao Zedong. I don't really have an opinion, or much of an opinion. It's a mixed bag. But I presume a lot of my viewers are left-leaning, so I'm gonna use him as an example. Mao Zedong said that women hold half the sky. Men hold the other half, in that sense. Society is built upon us. We both work together to create life. We both work together to create society. Society with one of us oppressed or one of us, you know, so much in the dumps, will not function. A society can only function when both of us are on equal standings, in rights and in obligations. When both of us abandon these stupid notions of misogyny and misandry, and actually try and build meaningful relationships. Because at the end of the day, ladies, if you keep going in that certain kind of thinking, I'm not talking all of you, I'm talking a lot of you, not talking some, because there's a lot. You're either going to end up either alone, single forever, or maybe going to end up with a bunch of cats. That's the stereotypical idea. And fuck, okay, I was about to say something very important, but I totally fucking forgot it. Shit. Going to be single and bitter. Shit. No, it was really important. It would bring everything back together. Holy shit. Okay, no. This is so embarrassing. I can't be forgetting this right now. Let me just a little bit backtrack in my. Give me a minute. Give me a minute here. Damn it. It's hard for me with these streams because I do not have a script. I have like a mental list of things to talk about, and I do rely on the opinions of my viewers to also remind me of things to talk about. So I'm going here with some on the spot reasoning based on conversations and research I've had before. There's no script involved. Else I would have made a fucking video essay. So give me a sec. Yes. So you're either going to just be single or end up in really shitty relationships where, well, if you decide to settle eventually in a non-positive manner, because settling can be negative sometimes, unfortunately. But it is not a negative thing. It can be negative, it can be positive, and hopefully it is always positive. But that's ideal. Or you're going to actually ostracize yourself. You're going to say that instead of waiting for Mr. Perfect to show up, which will never happen, you're going to say that why should I even date? You will be in the dumps just like the men ostracize themselves. The men ostracize themselves, they say, why should I take care of myself? It doesn't matter. And you ladies will start ostracizing yourself, saying, why should I actually put myself out there? Why should I actually wait for Mr. Perfect or for any guy for that matter? Why not just live alone at home and do nothing, or not go out, or go out with my friends exclusively on girls' night? Living alone, a single life, because I've given up on the idea of being in a relationship. Because you're in the dumps that way. Same as us when we are in the dumps. And a society cannot be built if we're both on the dumps. So, for the both of us, we need to really fix our shit together. Get our shit together. Excuse me, I need to put a little cough drop in my mouth because my throat is fucking killing me right now. I should have been asleep like 4 hours ago. I've recently fixed my sleep schedule a little bit too much. Like I sleep early, wake up early, that kind of thing. 5 a.m. kind of early, and 10 p.m. kind of early in terms of sleeping and waking up. Or waking up and sleeping. And it's good. It's really better than my exam season because that shit was fucked beyond belief. But it really made it harder for me to stream. That's why I missed the streaming opportunity yesterday because I wanted to take, as I said at the start of the stream, I took a nap and it turned into like a 5 hour sleep, and I said, fuck it, let me just continue. I can stream tomorrow. So basically, my message is we're both in the fucking dumps if we keep doing this. And this has drastic measures. This gender war nonsense does have drastic measures, or not drastic measures, drastic consequences. The drop of the birth rate, as I started first in the stream, I said the drop in birth rate is majorly due to social problems such as this one, the gender wars. Even though gender wars is a lot more bullshit because it's highly sensationalized bullshit on social media. To avoid such negative, poisonous ideas, I do recommend people to actually think about the content they're seeing. Is the content they're seeing thought-provoking? Does it actually contribute positively to the development of society? If not, it's to be disregarded. If yes, if it does, then it needs to be looked into and discussed. And that can be seen if you look at the comment section of the post. If it's just men and women berating each other, it's a stupid post. It should be avoided. Though, people should be more literate in the media they consume, more literate in the data that exists out there, This is a wider problem. A wider problem in all aspects of life. And data literacy is very important. Because it helps people logically reach conclusions and positions. So yes, avoid stupid shit. Now let's look into the chat a little bit. Do you think any relevant group in the West is equipped to solve the growing ideological rift between men and women? I would not call this an ideological rift, but it does appear that a lot of women lean more towards progressive ideas, and some men would lie so much about their politics to seal the deal. That goes back to the idea of lying to be more appealing to women. I'm not sure if there's a relevant group in the West that does that. I've seen some content creators that genuinely try to do a good work at uplifting both men and women. For example, women that are protecting men's rights and saying that, hey, we should go for an equal society. We shouldn't call men devils. But when a man says something as shit as a father shouldn't be a father or shouldn't dote on his children, he should be the lead. A leader does not care about his father, or some fucking bullshit like that. Like basically, do not be a father figure to your children. Be a fucking terrifying presence. These same women that protect men's rights and call for equal rights for all will tear down such takes from such men. These are some content creators with a wide, a wide level of support. I think I'm not sure about groups in the West. Maybe there are NGOs out there. Maybe there are lobby groups, um, community groups. Yeah, some grassroots level organization. I don't know. I don't really know. ideological leanings in general. I don't know how to answer this question. Do you think any relevant group in the West is equipped to solve the growing ideological rift between men and women in general, the ideological leanings in general? No, I don't think I am aware of any group. I would say ideally, although there is a growing ideological rift, we have statistics of it. I mean, yes, I agree. Men are a lot more leaning towards conservative positions or right wing positions than women. I'd say ideally, progressive organizations and parties should play that role. Um, Universities should play that role. No, social groups or social organizations or people that affect the social opinion or society or, or the culture should ideally have a say in this. Because generally the gender wars do create a certain rift and a shitty one at that, and that's why I do not think social progress can really happen under capitalism. Because the rift between men and women and all groups in society is actually a good thing for the rich fucks. There's a lot more merch to be sold, a lot more young people to prey upon, both men and women, to make a quick buck. A lot of this here and there and everywhere. There's far more money in pitting people against each other than actually bringing them together. So, I think what needs to be done for any organization that wants to fix this is to actually address this on all of its level. When socialism becomes based in the streets, disaffected young men will be drawn to socialism instead of the right. Yeah, basically to lower men from leaning towards the right, you need to change the status quo in a positive light, in a positive manner. The status quo is horrible. It's causing the rift to widen. Going back to the phase before the status quo is not good. Because we're rolling back social progress, we're rolling back time to an era that is heavily romanticized but was by all means fucking shit. And we need to move forward in a good manner, in a really ethical, smart way, in a more or less moral way. That is my own opinion. You know, a less promiscuous, less ignorant way to encourage men to get higher education, to encourage men to actually process their emotions and their feelings in a better sense. And women should play a role in this as well. It's not on men only. This is a social issue. All members of society need to play their part. Men should try and process their emotions, and women should not tear them down when they do it. This is a mutual effort. It's a mutual problem. It's a mutual effort to fix it. Don't I think feminists address that though the problem at large? I think. I mean, listen, it depends on what you consider to be feminism. Because you have feminism that tears down men, that glorifies people like Valerie Solanas and the Scum Manifesto, and you have feminism that wants equal rights. It has been heavily polarized. That's why I prefer saying egalitarianism. I want equal rights, equity, and equality for men and women, and all members of society. But some feminist groups are on the right path. Some rights groups are also on the right path, and they also agree with each other that men and women have it rough and need to work together. But sadly, the vast amount of poisonous ideas online which affect a lot of young people nowadays, even if it's not the case in the real world, it can become a real thing in the real world or a real problem in the real world the more young people that are affected by it. You have some fucking grifters on both sides that say outlandish shit to get views and to get money and poison the minds of young people, and then society is fucked. I feel like socialism needs to focus more on taking it over instead of self improvement and working from the system within, especially among student things like sit ins, violent protests need to be embraced. Well, I do believe the same because no one willingly gives up power, especially someone that is born into privilege. And I'm saying born into privilege, I mean they're fucking filthy rich. They never had to work a day in their fucking lives, and who see money as nothing. They don't have value for money. They see it as status. That as long as they have and others don't have, they remain that status of being rich. Now it's not, well, maybe it is. Socialism does help. Socialism does help on many levels. Something funny, apparently East German women, because of socialism, felt they're more equal to men and therefore enjoyed sexual interactions with men a lot more than West German women. I mean, that's like a fun tidbit out there for you to think about. But the way to go is to break this cycle. First things first, there needs to be a push on social media, on content sharing platforms like YouTube, to basically deprogram people from the filthy bullshit they get fed by grifters online that make outlandish bullshit claims that outlandish bullshit claims that really poison the minds, because it leads this all of the gender wars is basically counterculture. The status quo created two really different countercultures, one that pushes the fabric of society towards misogyny, the other towards misandry, and it's not good. These two countercultures need to be squashed. I'm saying it, squashed, snuffed out of existence. They cannot be allowed to continue. These modes of thinking are destructive to society, to men and women, to the birth rate, which will be destructive to the fucking economy in the long run. You want to keep making money, you need to fix the gender wars shit. See the rift between men and women in the thumbnail? Yeah, fucking bring some handyman and just, no, fill it with cement and then paint it over with the coat of white painting. A real counterculture needs to be established, and unlike the Hallies, it shouldn't be a pacifistic one. This will draw young men into the left again like it did during the 60s. I feel like socialist media is the wrong way to go. We need to encourage people to touch grass and do real things. I mean, yes, listen. Socialist media and literature, for that matter, is worth nothing if people don't go out there and work, what they preach. Work upon what they preach. I try to have these discussions with my classmates, a lot of different social discussions with my classmates, both men and women, to actually spread these ideas even more, spread these perspectives even more. Give them something to think about. And I trust all of them are really good, capable people of thinking and processing things their own way and coming with their own conclusions. You can always nudge the conversation in a certain manner, But I do believe people are smart enough to know how to think. The profit motive makes creating rage bait bullshit on social media desirable for creators. That is true. And yeah, I agree with Maki. Ultimately social media says if TikTok is banned tomorrow, it's a good thing. Not because it is China's spying software making. No, 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 no. I mean, sort of China might be spying. I don't know. Could be. It's plausible. Not gonna confirm nor deny. I do not know enough, but I think social media is poisonous to the brain. Personally, I do not use much of social media. Like I use Discord and YouTube. That's about it. I never really bothered with it. I don't feel it is necessary. Like I can contact my family via WhatsApp. I can watch videos on YouTube and make content on YouTube, and I can have some fun on the internet via Discord. Social media was never something that I really cared about. It kind of feels weird for me to share everything I do with strangers online, like take pictures of everything. But people who know me on Discord know that I do actually talk quite a lot about my days going on. I feel comfortable with some people. I like to share my days with them. It's good. You don't not dox yourself at the same time. You, like you share it with people. It's always fun to share with people. I like to. I'm a chatterbox. That's why these types of streams are good for me because I talk a lot. I love talking about all sorts of things. So there's that. I think we still have some time. I've talked about a lot of things that are still at the top of my mind. Maybe in my preparation to the stream, I might have analyzed some things a little bit more, or talked about some things far more that I kinda abbreviated in this stream. But I'd like to believe that I did manage to get the idea across in some capacity. After all, this stream is not meant to give the ultimate solution. This stream is supposed to highlight a problem, give methods, give uh, certain points of views, certain recommendations, and a heart to heart with my viewers, especially the men, especially the young men, because I feel you. I'm one of you. It sucks. It doesn't have to though. We can make the best of it. That's how we live. That's how everybody lives. We make the best of it. To be honest, I feel the economy is the biggest reason why people aren't having more kids beyond any online dispute and culture wars. Well, as I said at the start of the stream, the economy does play a role. That is true. There's a lot of things that go into the decrease of of the population. For example, you have emigration, not immigration, emigration. People leaving the country, not coming into, leaving the country. Or in some countries it results in brain drain and for progress in said country to bog down. There's a lot of things that go into it. Everything, everything in this world is interconnected. Everything in this world is every single problem affects another problem, affects another problem. That's why, for example, Greta Thunberg, I believe, the climate activist, started off as an environmentalist, and now she's calling against occupation in Gaza and ending the occupation in Palestine and stopping this genocide, and I believe decrying capitalism. Last I checked, because I believe that young lady realized that environmental problems, human rights violations, and capitalism are all fucking linked together. You'd have another kid if it wasn't already paycheck to pay. Yeah, I understand you. And largely, I'd like to believe that in the real world, nobody really thinks that way. There's no real gender war. However, sadly, voices online, even if they were a silent or a very loud minority, it does affect people. It is affecting the newer generation. It is something that is very tangible. It can be very much seen with how many young men believe in the Alpha Sigma bullshit. Like, I hope it's just some internet niche, but it's not that anymore. I'm going to give an example. There's this streamer named Sneeko, I believe. Um, I'm only mentioning his name because, he said some controversial things over the years. One time he was out and about filming and he met a group of kids that watch his content. And they said some very controversial shit. Okay, some very hateful shit. Basically hating women, wanting to beat some groups of people and kill them. And Sneeko was baffled, flabbergasted. And he said, "What have I done?" In a more or less joking, shocked manner, but shocked manner. But he's right. What the fuck did he do? His grifting led to actual kids having some really dog shit ideas poisoning their brains. Because this gender war bullshit, I feel it is more aimed towards the younger generation. And the youngsters, they're pretty impressionable. Now, even I said, not everybody matures enough uh, once they hit adulthood. Some people are still immature in their 30s. And I fucking met some of them. Horrible fucking people. Horrible fucking people. Holy shit. Yikes. So while I do agree, the gender wars maybe are for now an online thing. But give it a few years. Give it a few years. You know what I mean. So I think I want the stream to be a little bit of a guide to my viewers, to young men viewing this. And no, I'm hoping similar content that can actually reach a far larger group of people than my own content can be seen out. You know, can be produced and can be distributed, can be uploaded on social media. Because honestly, excuse me, I'm a little bit tired. I've been up for almost like 10 hours. No, no, no. Yes, 20 hours now. Almost 20 hours now. Yeah. Not the best thing to do, but I really, really, really wanted to do the stream from all my heart. And basically, that is mostly what I wanted to say about this topic. Of course, there's a lot more to say. There's always a lot more to say. There's always a lot more to talk about. So I'm going to drop a few things here, a few names, a few words, a few references. For example, the first video I watched on the topic is, excuse me, The Gender Wars: Why Men Hate Women and Women Hate Men by Cole Hastings. That's one video I watched. Another video I watched, which about the cleavage politics. Well, I cannot find it, but basically Google cleavage politics. You're gonna find it eventually on Google. on YouTube. I mean, those two were interesting videos to dabble into, and they were pretty informative. There's a lot of videos I wanted to actually watch before the stream. There's a lot of things that I wanted to research more, and there's a lot more to research in this very topic, the relationship between men and women. And I do encourage you all, as much as I encourage myself, to look into it even more and use this stream as a staging point for more deeper research and deeper analysis, because I believe in every single one of you. You can do it. You have a brain. You know, you can analyze shit with. I have confidence in you. But yes, the conclusion that we are to reach is fuck social media. Um, know your self worth, but also have realistic expectations. Settling is not bad. We should not confuse relationship with love with sex. All of them are not the same thing. All of them can complete each other, but they're not necessarily the same thing. And it's always best to assume the best of people, to know your worth, keep your expectations realistic, and be more literate when it comes to media. You know, be more, check the data more. Try not to be swayed by sensationalized bullshit. Because again, if there's two things that sell in media, it's fear and sex. And gender wars basically encompasses fear and sex very well. So be careful of grifters. Now, I think I have a little bit more time. I have reached the conclusion that I wanted to reach from this stream. And it did not take so much time as I thought it. Almost 3 hours. Not bad, not too shabby. I thought it'd take like fucking 5. It did not. So, nothing, folks. Excuse me. Wow, I'm really tired. We have a little bit of time left, like 10 to 20 minutes. Anybody got anything they want to talk about regarding the relationship between men and women? Any question I can try and answer? Any topic that can be relevant? I'm all ears. I am all ears. Or basically eyes, since you'd be typing that. I just noticed I did not ping everybody in my server. It's a bit silent. Seems like there's not much people in chat right now. Which is understandable. The stream largely ran its course. Yeah, you know, here's a fun fact. Here's a fun fact for we had. No, I've heard a lot of talk lately about gender, and sex, and biology. And I'm not really going to touch all of that. It's not my business. It's not what I want to go for. But here's a fun fact that I remember from back in high school. There are some women born as women, have the reproductive system of a woman, do not have any male parts, and yet these women have the XY chromosome. It's quite fascinating. There's an island, actually. I remember this case because I had it on an exam back in school. My school was Catholic, by the way, so do not start accusing me of wokeness or whatever the fuck. My school, in the exam, there was this exercise about an island in the Caribbean where the young girls would become boys upon hitting puberty. It's something that has to do with genetics. It's quite fascinating world. I've studied it back in high school. I was good at it, but it's been a while and I'm rusty on it, so I don't really want to talk too much about it because I'm worried I might get the ideas across in a wrong manner, in a non truly scientific manner. So, but that's a fun tidbit. Um, marriage. As I said before, it's a contract in Islam. Basically, it's a contract, and it has different rules depending on different sects, but largely it's similar to the civil one. It's really quite fascinating, actually. Marriage shouldn't be treated as like this prison of sorts. Um, Honestly, because a lot of boomer humor is basically, oh, I hate my wife. I hate my wife. If you hate your wife, dude, that's just some miserable existence. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You kind of live together under the same roof and see each other every single day, and you're old as fuck, so you're probably both retired and living in the same room. So it's weird. It's really weird, this whole thing. Hmm. It's currently March, and speaking of women, a lot of women that should get a lot of recognition are mothers. In March, in where I live, Mother's Day is on the 21st of March, which for us coincides with the start of spring. And no, mothers really have it hard. We need to appreciate them more. Yes. Okay, I think I've reached a point in the stream where I'm really too tired to actually come up with new topics, and I think the thing has run its course. And it's not a bad thing for us to reach an ending so soon. On the contrary, it's actually a good thing. Because the less long the stream is, the more people are going to watch, hopefully. And and again, the conclusion that I wanted to reach in this stream is: assume the best, know your worth, have realistic expectations, do not romanticize a weird past. We shouldn't hate each other, we should build and help each other. For the love of God, do not lie to get yourself more good boy points with girls. Um, Grifters are gonna grift, so fuck them. Uh, there's a difference between love, relationships, and sex. You need to know what to prioritize and know when to settle. And settling is not a negative thing at all. It is a thing. It could be negative, it could be positive. Depends on how you settle and who you settle for. And at the end of the day, you know, we build society. Excuse me. We build society together, hand in hand. Without us, without men and women, new life cannot exist in this world. I think that is the solution, or basically, that is the conclusion I want to reach. Gentlemen, as I said before, have some self confidence, take care of yourself, firstly, for yourself, and secondly, to be more presentable to the ladies. And going to the gym and depressing all your emotions is not the way to go. It's not the way to go. You're just numbing your feelings. It's gonna fuck you over in the long term. Trust me. Right. I think this is it for today's stream. I think I've reached the conclusion that I wanted to reach. And, I probably would have been able to continue a lot more. I probably would have remembered a lot more things to talk about. Sadly, I'm pretty fucking tired. I know, it's fucking horrible. I'm only flesh and bones. If only I could be a cyborg ninja in a video game. That would make life so much easier, wouldn't it? Just running around, climbing shit, and slashing cars. Good stuff. Neat stuff. Weird stuff. I'm talking about Metal Gear Rising. It's a neat game. That being said, I want to remind everybody there is an ongoing genocide in Gaza right now, and an ongoing bombing campaign against the south of Lebanon, and a lot of human rights violation in all of Palestine and in parts of Lebanon by the Zionist entity. And I urge you people to do whatever you can do to support ending this genocide once and for all. Again, I encourage calling your representatives if you can, and I encourage you to protest. I encourage you to donate if you can, and I encourage you to engage in conversations with your friends and family and spread awareness. It might be small, might seem insignificant, but who knows? Maybe one small act over another builds, builds a heaven full of flowers. Damn, that was good. That was good. That was a good line. That being said, last chance for the public to ask anything they want, any topic that wants to be tackled, because once I'm done with the stream, it's gonna take a while until I stream something again. So please, be my guest. Anything you want, I am ready to talk about. Now wait for like a couple more minutes because there's like a buffering between me and the folks. So like a couple more minutes and it's over because it's already 3 a.m. over here, and I'm really really tired, and I'm really sorry about it. I'm really sorry. I actually wanted to sleep early today so I could wake up energized for this, but it wasn't meant to be. So I just said fuck it. It's time to just brute force my way through it. Well, it appears we have reached the peak of what we can reach. It is what it is. Hmm. Hmm. Well, in that case, time's up. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this evening. I hope you've had a good start of 2024. These past 2 months were interesting to me, to say the least. Ramadan is coming in a week, next Monday. Well, not next Monday is basically in 2 days, but like the one after it will be the first day, and I think yeah, I think I'll do something special during the holy month. Uh, I still haven't decided it yet. I'm not sure what I'm going to exactly be talking about, but I'll have some time to figure it out. I have some time to figure it out. I hope you all enjoyed watching. Take care of yourselves. Have a good weekend. Have a good night. And be kind people in this world. Both men and women. This world needs kindness. More of it. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye.